Hello, I am Beck. Welcome to my channel. Today I'll be drawing a D&D character based on the roll of the dice.
Let's bring out the Tower of Destiny!
So we've got a rogue whose subclass is thief, and I chose the background guide for reasons that I'll get into later, and the species is just human, which I don't think I've done in a while, if ever. Have I ever done human? I don't remember. Let me know if you've been watching all my videos and if I've done human before. I must have done a human at least once, surely. Anyway, humans are just described as diverse in appearance as the people of Earth, so we all know what humans look like. You can see on this inspiration board that I had a lot of kind of ideas. With the background being thief, I wanted it to be a little bit like Artful Dodger vibes, a little bit like sort of high confidence, but in a not creepy way, in a don't trust this person kind of way, in a dark way. But then with the background as guide, they have kind of a druidy, like, it's not like a city guide, it's a nature guide, and that sort of drew my mind into like the Girl Scouts and that kind of thing. So I wanted to do a little bit of a combination of like someone who's a little bit, they're a guide but in a punky kind of way. Anyway, let's get started. So I'm going to put like the detailed information on the screen while I'm talking if you want to know more about any of the like various class, subclass, background, etc. I'll start with human because even though the new player's handbook has like a step-by-step guide where you set up your character and the last thing you do is pick your species and like what you look like, what your eye color is and gender and things like that, because they don't really affect the gameplay that much. Like, it doesn't matter what color your hair is, that's just how it looks in your mind when you're playing, but you don't get any special mechanical advantages for having dark hair versus light hair or anything like that. So I can understand why they would put it at the end, but if you're drawing the character, it is very important to know the species first, because that is the general shape that you're drawing, or that I am drawing. And so I'll put the information for human on the screen here. I would never play as a human, or I've never considered it before, so I didn't really read much into what the human traits are that you can get. But one of them that is very interesting is versatile. You gain an origin feat of your choice, which means in addition to the origin feat you get from having whichever background you've chosen, you get a second one. So I would probably assign lucky to the human versatility trait, and then the background has what's it called? Magic Initiate is what you get as part of the guide background, which means you get to learn some druid cantrips, and I think that's really cool. So a lot of the stuff that I designed for this character, who I'm going to call Bones, the character's name is Bones, I designed her very much based around the ideas of like her being a guide in nature, but also that turning into her becoming a thief, and the dexterity that she's got. She's like very quick-fingered and very good at being sneaky, and she can get around the forest without anyone really noticing. So maybe she'd be leading people through a forest, and if they were being kind of disrespectful to the forest, she would steal from them, and maybe not even just for herself or like greedy reasons. I think she'd steal from them and like donate that to like the nature reserve fund or something like that, and that's how she managed to get sort of blessed by one of the druidic people so that she was able to do some druid spells. Anyway, yeah. But being a guide, I did want her to look the part, but also I wanted her to look how she is as well. So she's a little bit rough and tumble, a little bit cool, but she's still got that like Girl Scout guide uniform on. Like she almost looks like a camp counselor or something like that. Like she's one of the troop leaders. Is that what they're called in Scouts? I don't think I never did Scouts, so I don't really know what everything's called. But the aesthetic is pretty well known, having the patches on the shirt, and once I add the color, you'll see it's the sort of neutral, naturey colors. And I end up giving her like one of those little ties. I don't know if they're still called a bow tie, but they sort of just cross over in front. They're not really tied, but this one's undone, so it doesn't even matter. But she's sort of, I think she's one of those like camp counselors that all the kids want to be when they grow up, because she looks so cool. And yeah, taking people through the forest. I think she does do the sort of company lines. Like I don't know if she works for a company. I guess she could, where they tell her what to say. Like this is this kind of tree, and it's this many years old, and like there's a particular kind of bird that's native to this area, and like pointing out all the things. But when everyone stops for a break, she might sort of disappear, and then that's when she does a little bit of looting if the people in her party, or the party, not her party, the people that she's showing around suck. If they suck, then she's gonna steal from them, and if they're cool, then she probably leaves them alone. Because I think she is ultimately a good person. Like, I would probably align her as chaotic good. Because she does steal, but she steals for altruistic reasons, and she sort of decides, like, she doesn't necessarily comply with the law, but she does what she thinks is right, which, you know, that makes her good. She's disappeared for just a second now while I draw the stump that she's sitting on. I've got a sort of a side project happening that I may or may not have advertised on my social media before this video goes live, but I am going to be drawing my characters like as black and white and then adding color separately. I might as well spoil it. It's a coloring book. I've got going to do some coloring books using my characters, and you should be able to purchase at least one by the time this goes live, unless things go wrong, but check the description under the video if you're interested in that. Anyway, yeah, so we're down to coloring now, and I'm doing all the sort of naturey woods and greens and things colors. You can see that she's done a little bit of looting. I think her backpack, like an adventurer's backpack, is full of like rations and bedrolls and things like that, but I don't usually draw that in. Normally you don't imagine your character with all the stuff that they're carrying, but in this case I would say she has everything she needs in that backpack, and a couple of things she doesn't technically need in the backpack as well, which you can see they're sticking out a little bit. No idea why someone would bring a scepter to walk through the forest, but they sure did. They sure did do that, and they were dicks about it, so she stole the scepter. So, I'm entertaining myself here, but I'm happy with the expression that she got on her face. I think it really captures her vibe and brings everything together. So, probably part of it is also being a human in a world full of these fantastical creatures. She's probably underestimated a lot, which is part of why I wanted her to have the lucky feet attached to her humanness. That while other creatures have this like innate magic in them, or like they have this really exciting like thing that's assigned to being a species, like how dwarves have tremor sense, they just feel things in the earth and stuff like that. She's a human, she's very adaptable, and because of that, there is just some sort of element of luck attached to her. She's always been lucky. Even before she developed her high dexterity, I think that she took a lot of chances and they usually turned out well. So I think part of why she got into thievery and how she became a rogue was because a lot of the chances she took turned out so well that not kind of the gambler's thing of like, oh, I can't lose, but also the thing of like, whenever you try something new, if it works out well, you're more likely to do it more often. So whether it was stealing just for herself because she needed the money, that maybe that's how it started, but I think she got so good at stealing that it became a little bit like, well, I don't need all this stuff. I don't need all this money. And the druids in the forest have been so good to me that I'm gonna, do them a solid in return and try and like make sure that the forest is protected and make sure that the people going into the forest are respectful. And if they're not, then I'll give them a little bit of punishment, but nothing crazy. I'm not going to hurt them or anything. Just going to show them what it's like when you lose something that matters to you. So when the forest gets hurt or destroyed, that hurts. That hurts the druids and it hurts everything that lives in the forest. So if you go in there and you're disrespectful and you have all this like golden wealth and pearl necklaces and things that matter to you, those are the things I'm going to take from you, just to give you a little bit of your own medicine. And I think she's a real sassy one as well. I think she's kind of like, her wisdom's not that high, so I don't know if she'd be that witty, but her intelligence is very high, so I think she's good at filing information about people away and then using that information against them when it's advantageous to her. So she's a formidable person to come up against, but you won't know it until it's much too late. And I think that's one of the things that makes her a very cool character. Like, she doesn't mind getting in a fight where she knows she's gonna lose, because she can also, like, take revenge in a way where, like, during the fight, she's kind of mentally recording. So the second time she fights you, she knows all of your moves and she knows how you fight, and she'll be able to counter that much more easily. And that's where, like, mechanically, I would employ some of the lucky feat in that as well, where, like, I think you can get if you're fighting someone, you can get the other person to roll at disadvantage. Something like that, where roleplay wise, it's because she's been, like, taking notes and figuring out how to fight this person, but mechanically wise, you would use the lucky feat for that. I haven't really talked about why she would join an adventuring party and leave the forest that she's guiding people through to go on an adventure, but I think a really good hook would be if one of the druids that she already had a relationship was one of the other people in the adventuring party, and they had some cause that they were fighting toward. Like, maybe there are two kingdoms either side of this forest where they're at war and there's, like, people trudging through the forest, like full armies destroying the forest just as collateral damage, so they need to leave the forest and be like, hey guys, stop being at war please. Or something like that. Although I think also, I don't think she grew up rich. I think I think she grew up in the forest and potentially was raised by druids or just sort of natives of the forest who didn't necessarily have druid magic. But I think that she's resentful towards people who grew up with a lot of money and with a big family, a lot of prestige, people who just take that kind of stuff for granted. I think she would be into doing any kind of heist or anything that sort of gave them the middle finger. So I think she's that kind of person, which isn't great, but not everyone can be a great person. So I think she means well, but she can't resist sort of messing with people who she thinks have too much. They have too much wealth, too much power, too much family, whatever it is that they're taking for granted. I hope you like this video. Thank you for watching. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I will catch you next time. Bye!